In this episode, I'm going to be telling you about the Tipitiwitchet. Never heard of that? Good, because neither have I until I started recording this episode. The Tipitiwitchet is one of the names of one of the most famous carnivorous plants in North Carolina. You know it better as the Venus Flytrap. Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the NC Everything podcast. I'm your host Curtis, and this is the show where I talk about everything that has anything to do with North Carolina. Now, this is the 77th recording of the podcast, but this is only the second video recording for the YouTube channel that I made to go with the podcast. I will say the first recording was a little bumpy. I got some positive feedback. People seemed to like it, but for me personally, it was a little bumpy. But like the podcast, we're going to keep working at it, and hopefully I can give you some good content pretty soon. Now, as far as the beard goes, that's kind of a boredom thing. It comes and it goes. Eventually, you'll probably see me clean shaven for a while, or 5 o'clock shadow. I don't shave no more than I have to. And for those of you seeing my face for the first time, I hope the face matches the voice okay, and I hope you're not too disappointed. But that's enough about YouTube. Let me do a little bit of self-promotion here. Some of you already know this routine. If you're new to the show and you're curious about what else I have, you can check out all my past episodes at www.thencEverythingpodcast.com. Right on the home screen, there's a player, and you can scroll through and listen to every single episode I have. Now, you can also hit the episode button, and that'll take you to the show notes. And there you can find links to the sources I used, and you can find links to any pictures that have anything to do with that episode. Also, if you have an idea for an episode or you just want to say hello, you can hit the contact button on the website or go to www.thencEverythingpodcast.com/contact. And from there, you can send me an email. And one other thing, and I hadn't said this in a long time, but I made this show for North Carolina and for North Carolina people. If there's something you'd like to see on the website or hear on the show or even see on the YouTube channel, hit the contact button and tell me about it. Within reason, if I can, I'll try to help you out. And one last thing before I get started, as you can see on the YouTube video, we're having class outside today. It's rainy, it's messy, it's pretty cold. I hope the sound of the rain on the roof here is not going to be too distracting, but if it is, I apologize. Now that's enough chit-chat, or since I'm just talking to myself, I guess it's just chit, so that's enough of that chit. Let's get into the content. Like I said, we're going to be talking all about the Venus Flytrap, and I keep my notes on my tablet here, so you're going to see me looking down. I'm not going to wave it around the camera. And yes, the Venus Flytrap was known as the Tipitiwitchet at one time, but we're going to get into that when that comes. First, did you know that there's 66 species of carnivorous plants in the United States? I had no idea about that. But if you didn't know that, then you probably didn't know that over half the species of carnivorous plants in the United States are found right here in North Carolina. And I was certainly blown away by that fact. As a matter of fact, if you had asked me what kind of carnivorous plants there are in the world before I started working on this episode, the only one I would have been able to come up with would probably have been the Venus Flytrap. But it turns out that there are 36 species of carnivorous plants found right here in North Carolina. And I'm not going to keep saying carnivorous plants. Eventually I'm going to get tongue-tied on that. But to think about 36 species of these plants here in North Carolina, right here in our home state, it makes it sound like we live in some sort of hellscape. By the way, I tried to find a comprehensive list of what these carnivorous plants were. I couldn't find a list. It had a lot or several names on it, like the pitcher plant or pitcher plant. Some of you are familiar with that, but I couldn't find a comprehensive list. If you know where one's at, or you know any carnivorous plants, definitely send me a link, and I'd like to check them out, because they might be worth doing an episode on too. I could do a whole episode just on carnivorous plants if I found all of them. But today, it's just going to be the Venus Flytrap. But first, let me tell you why some plants are carnivorous in the first place. And Matt, if you're listening, I know this is your bread and butter. If I make any errors, I apologize. So plants are autotrophs, and that means that they make their own food using photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is a process where the plant takes in water, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and it turns it into simple sugars. Then the plant uses these simple sugars as fuel to repeat the whole process and to grow larger. Now, I'm sure a lot of you remember this from middle school science class. What you may not remember from middle school is that even though carnivorous plants do perform photosynthesis, they don't get enough fuel from that process, so they have to supplement their diet in other ways. And of course, that's through meat. And obviously, the Venus flytrap can't chase down a rabbit, so the plants had to come up with unique ways of catching their prey. Now, these plants have all different kinds of ways they lure in insects into their traps where they can be digested. The pitcher plant, for example, has little tiny caves on the stalk, and these caves are filled with a digestive fluid, and so insects are attracted to these little caves, and they go in to explore, and they never come back out. Now, other plants have sticky patches on them, and when an insect comes by and lands on the plant, like insects do, it gets stuck, and there it'll be digested. Now, the flytrap, to me, has the most interesting way because it looks like it has these jaws. And even though they're not truly jaws, when the flytrap closes, it looks like it's chomping down on its food. Now, if you've never seen a Venus flytrap, you can check out the show notes, and I'll have a picture of one, and I might have a thumbnail of one on the cover art for this episode. But it kind of looks like Audrey, or Audrey 2 from the movie The Little Shop of Horrors. And that makes a lot of sense because in the movie, Audrey 2 is a cross between a Venus flytrap and a butterwort. Now, in the stage play, Little Shop of Horrors, Audrey 2 comes from outer space, so that one doesn't apply here. Now, if you're a little too young to know what Little Shop of Horrors is, surely you've probably played Mario Brothers. Well, do you remember that plant in Mario Brothers that has the teeth and it'll bite you and sometimes they shoot fire? Well, this plant is called the Venus Flytrap because it resembles the Venus flytrap. The most interesting thing about the Venus flytrap is that it's so popular it's cultivated all around the world. But it only grows naturally in one little place in the world, and that's right here in the Carolinas. Now, I say Carolinas because it's part of North and part of South Carolina. Now, it says that it grows within a 50-mile radius of Wilmington. I've also heard a 75-mile radius of Wilmington. And I think the reason for this discrepancy is because the Venus flytrap is actually really small, and it's hard to go out there and locate where each and every one of them are growing. So, 50 to 75 miles around Wilmington. The important thing is this area that the Venus flytrap grows in is called the coastal plain. And in the coastal plain, it's not a whole lot of loam soil. It's real sandy and low nutrient soil. And that sounds really horrible, but this is where the Venus flytrap lives. Now, based on what I said about the carnivorous plants needing low nutrient soil or living in low nutrient environments, and the fact that there's 36 carnivorous plants in our state, I'm assuming that most, if not all, of the carnivorous plants live somewhere around the coast. So from now on, I think when I go to the beach, I'm just going to have to assume that everything in the woods is going to try to eat me. Now let's get into the origin story of the Venus flytrap. Now what we call the Venus flytrap is actually called the Diana muscipula by botanists. And I know I screwed that name up, so botanists don't call it that, but I'll have that name in the show notes. Diana muscipula, whatever, we'll take it. Now, I don't mean to spoil the origin story right here at the beginning, but they actually don't know what plant the Venus flytrap actually evolved from. But here's the best theory. The plant first adapted tentacles and leaves in certain areas, and this increased the chances of it catching prey. Then it evolved the speed at which it actually attacked. After that, it evolved the ability to detect when an actual prey was near it. And what this did, it reduced the times that the plant would attack a raindrop or some kind of debris or something that it couldn't really use. One of the most incredible things I read during this was that the Venus flytrap actually won't attack bees. Somehow or another, when the bee lands on the Venus flytrap, the flytrap needs the bees to help pollinate it. Well, somehow the flytrap knows that it's a bee and it won't eat it. And what's incredible is scientists have no idea how the Venus flytrap does this. Anyway, the last evolution of the flytrap was the jaws that make it so distinctive. And that includes the teeth-like structure that you can see on the jaws, but these teeth actually work more like prison bars than teeth. Now, another thing that nobody really knows about the Venus flytrap is who first discovered it. They do know that in 1760, colonial governor Arthur Dobbs, who lived down in Brunswicktown, by the way, well, he wrote a letter about the flytrap. He named it the flytrap sensitive because a sensitive is a type of plant that responds when you touch it. Now, too bad for Arthur Dobbs, this name, flytrap sensitive, didn't actually stick. Then there was John Ellis. Now, he was a member of the East India Company, and I could do a whole podcast on the East India Company, but for now, just know that the East India Company were the bad guys in Pirates of the Caribbean 3. Anyway, John Ellis, he liked to find plants and ship them back to a guy in England named Carl Linnaeus. And he saw the Venus flytrap for the first time and was really excited to see this crazy-looking plant. And so he wrote a letter to Carl Linnaeus. In this letter, he names the plant Diana muscipula. Again, sorry. But this name comes from the Greek goddess Diana. The Romans also called this same goddess Venus. Muscipula was Latin for mousetrap. Now, the reason he named it after Diana/Venus was because the jaws of the plant, in his opinion, looked like a vagina. And, of course, Diana/Venus was the goddess of sex and love. And the mousetrap part was simply because it liked to catch flies. And I know that's not near as salacious as vagina, but that's what it is. Charlie, go play. For those of you listening, instead of watching my cat Charlie, or the cat Charlie, he's kind of a community cat. He just popped up to say hello, and he doesn't want to stop saying hello. Now, after word got out, because of Ellis's letter about this Venus flytrap, a lot of people became really interested and started studying the plant. And these men, or these people, included John Bartram, William Bartram, Arthur Dobbs, William Darlington, and of course, John Ellis himself. And inside this group of guys, they like to call the plant the Tipitiwitchet. Now, they told people that the name Tipitiwitchet was actually a Native American word, but eventually a linguist figured out that this wasn't true. They actually believe that the name Tipitiwitchet comes from two British slang words. A tippet was a furry collar, and a witchet was a loop and a rope. So, if you think about furry collar, loop and a rope, yeah, they were still using the vagina analogy. So even though Tipitiwitchet is really fun to say, and it's kind of an interesting name, it comes from a bunch of guys' dirty inside joke. But I like Tipitiwitchet. It's kind of fun to say, and so that's why I named this episode after it. Sorry, ladies. Now, word was spreading about this amazing plant in North Carolina, and people wanted the plant, and so to fill the need of all this demand for this Tipitiwitchet or flytrap, whatever they were calling it back then, outside of that group of guys I mentioned, everybody wanted one. And so the people in the Carolina colony, they started digging this plant up and they were shipping it everywhere. And people were getting dead plants in the mail, essentially. So to help with this, they tried to collect seeds instead of just a plant, but ultimately it still killed the plant. The end result was that the flytrap was being decimated. And today they're still in pretty big trouble as far as habitat and population. Now let me explain how the Venus flytrap does what it does. The leaves have a red tint on them, and this attracts the insects. And just to make sure that they can seal the deal, the plant also releases this fragrant nectar, and that draws the insects in. Now, when a bug lands on the jaws, they don't chomp down right away. In fact, they barely even move. Like I said, we have a really interesting plant here, and this Venus flytrap is a clever plant. So inside these jaws, there's these little sensory hairs, and these hairs start counting when they're touched. So a fly lands inside the jaws. Are you serious? The cat just ran across my microphone. I'm probably going to cut that out of the podcast, but I'll leave it in the video for you guys. So anyway, the fly touches these sensory hairs, and at that point, the fly trap starts counting. It don't move, it just counts. It counts for 20 seconds. Now, if these sensory hairs aren't touched again for 20 seconds, the fly trap knows that it's probably a piece of a leaf debris or a raindrop or some kid has come along and stuck their finger in there. But if something touches these sensory hairs twice or more than once in 20 seconds, the jaws slam shut. Now, most likely it's an insect, and now he's stuck behind these teeth-like bars. And the more that the insect wiggles around in there, the tighter these jaws go. And one of the articles I read said that they believe these jaws can actually get so tight that they're airtight. Now, as soon as the bug is trapped, the plant starts releasing this hormone called jasminate, or jasminate. Jasminate prepares the plant for digestion. Now, the bug is still in there wiggling around. Jasminate has been released. When this bug touches the sensory hairs for the 5th time, then digestive enzymes are released. And the more that the bug wiggles around, don't jump on my microphone, cat. The more that the bug wiggles around, the more these digestive enzymes and jasminate are released. And then 5 to 12 days later, the jaws reopen, the bug is gone except for the parts that couldn't be consumed, and then the wind comes along and it blows whatever mess is left out of the jaws, and the whole process starts over again. And I know that could be kind of graphic, but it's incredibly fascinating. Don't walk across my microphone. What's even crazier is that the flytrap doesn't just eat bugs. It's also been known to eat beetles, slugs, spiders, and even frogs. Now, earlier I mentioned that the flytrap was endangered because of how people were digging them up and sending them all around the world. Well, that still happens today. They're called plant poachers. And for many years, it's been illegal to poach flytraps. But let's be honest, there's a whole lot of things in this world that's illegal that still happen every single day. Now, when you mix plant poaching with habitat loss, like deforestation, you can see that the flytrap is in big trouble here. In 1956, legislation was passed that protected the Venus flytrap, but it hasn't completely protected it. Today, you can still get a permit to harvest Venus flytraps on private land. So if you're a private landowner and you have a flytrap and your buddy wants one, he can have it, but he needs to go to the state and get a permit before he can dig it up. That's the best I understand the law. But you are not allowed to harvest Venus flytraps on federal land. But like I said, the government can only do so much to protect these plants. One source I read said that plant poachers can sweep an area and come out with over 2,000 fly traps. Then they sell these fly traps on the black market for 25 cents each. Now, near Supply, North Carolina, there's a farm called the Flytrap Farm. In 2013, poachers snuck in and they stole 18,000 Venus flytraps, estimated to be worth $65,000. In 2014, it became a felony to harvest Venus flytraps, but I'm not sure if this slowed down the poachers at all. And what's crazy is that even after all this, all the poaching, all the habitat loss, the Venus flytrap has still not been classified as endangered. It is classified as a species of special concern. Now, I'm not real sure what kind of protections come with a species of special concern, but in my opinion, it's not enough. People are still poaching these Venus flytraps. Now, I've seen Venus flytraps in stores and stuff like that. Like I said, it's not illegal to cultivate the Venus flytrap. It's just illegal to harvest them. But recently, I was down at Morris Creek National Battlefield, and that's a really cool place, by the way. I plan on doing an episode on that eventually. That's a Revolutionary War battle site. If you go through the visitor center and out the back, out there behind it, there's a giant plant pot. And inside that plant pot, there is a genuine Tipitiwitchet. Now, obviously, it was planted here. It was cultivated here. The guy that was running the visitor center, he talked to me about it a little bit, and I think he said something about how he had special permission to get this thing. He might have harvested it, but he said something about getting special permission and planting this Venus flytrap in this pot. And we took a few pictures of the flytrap before we toured the battlefield. I'm going to post them in the show notes, but they're not great pictures. If you click the links in the show notes, you'll be able to see some of the pictures online, and you can really see the detail of the Venus flytrap. And that's all I have on the Venus flytrap. I know it was a short episode, but this has actually been one of my favorite episodes to research. I can only hope that you were as amazed about the Venus flytrap as I was, but I hope you guys learned a little something. And if you did learn something, or you want to write in the show, or you want to write in and tell me about how I got the Latin name for the plant wrong, you can do that at www.thenceverythingpodcast.com/contact. Also, if you have any pictures of the Venus flytrap and you want to send them in, I'll post them in the Facebook group with your permission. Oh, by the way, I also have a Facebook group, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok too. Just search DNC Everything Podcast. And if you like the show and you want to support it, all you have to do is rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe. And if you're one of my podcast listeners but you're not interested in YouTube, it would really help if you subscribe to the YouTube channel anyway, because all this subscription stuff, it helps me get higher in the ranks, and it helps people discover my show. Now, talking about YouTube for just a minute, yes, I plan on recording my episodes and putting them on there, and I plan on uploading the audio from my past episodes and putting them on there, but I also would like to do other North Carolina content videos, not just episodes. Like, I plan on going to the Outer Banks pretty soon, and I'm going to take the camera with me and my microphones, and hopefully while I'm down there I can get maybe some short videos to post on the YouTube channel. And that really is all I have for this episode, so I'll wrap up by saying I'll talk to you next time.